Hi everyone, I'm Natasha from Together Time Family, where we make having a successful garden fun and easy. And today we're talking about how to harvest kale. Alright, so we're taking a look at how to harvest your kale without killing the plant. Kale is an awesome vegetable. I actually really love it and eat kale every day. Call me weird, but I do like kale. And it's great because as long as the weather cooperates, you can keep harvesting and harvesting and harvesting. Kale is actually a biennial, which means that it produces flowers and seeds in its second year of life. Like many biennials, kale is naturally cold hardy, and it can survive most varieties down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Some can go even lower than that. And after kale goes through a freeze or two, it tends to be even sweeter and more delicious because of something called cold-induced sweetening, where the plant converts starches into sugars to help protect the plant and keep it from freezing. It's the same reason why you don't store your potatoes in the fridge. They turn sweet. Well, that's weird in potatoes, but it's delicious in something like kale. So if you see cool weather on the horizon, that is no need to panic and go out and pick all of your kale. It can survive on its own down to about 20 degrees. The one thing that does tend to kill off kale is heat. So if you see a lot of hot weather coming your way, it might be time to go ahead and harvest your plant unless you can provide afternoon shade, or I had great success growing kale hydroponically outdoors in zone 8A all summer long because the water helped keep the plants cooler. But no matter when you're harvesting your kale, if you want to keep the plant alive, you're going to follow the same technique. And what you want to do, you can break off the leaves, but I find it better to use snips. I use these, I think they're called micro touch snips from Fiskars. And you come in and you want to cut the leaf off as close to the base as you can get. But I'm going to get in closer with the camera and show you exactly where you need to make that cut. So you want to be making your cuts right in here, and you're going to snip that leaf off like that, only you probably don't want it to fall on the ground. But that's how you're going to harvest. You always take your outer, older leaves first. The one very important thing to remember when you harvest your kale is to leave the central bud of the plant intact. And on this one here, you can see it down in here. It's where all the leaves are growing out, those tiny little ones. And you can see it over on these other plants here. Down in here. Do not harvest these leaves because if you cut off that central bud in the middle, your plant is not going to grow anymore. So that's sort of the secret, if you will, to harvesting your kale without killing the plant, is to only take these outer leaves, not the inner leaves. Typically, you want to harvest your kale leaves by the time they reach about the length of your palm, and I know that that does vary depending on the person, but by the time they're palm-sized, when they get bigger than that, they're going to get a lot tougher and more bitter, and you'll definitely want to cook them. For raw eating, pick them smaller, and you may even want to pick baby kale leaves. Now let me show you a true baby kale plant, not just an adult plant that isn't getting enough sun. This is a kale seedling that is almost 4 weeks old. It's growing hydroponically indoors right now. For raw eating, honestly, you probably want leaves about that size, so they're nice and tender. But as you can see, this is 2 plants, and that's not a whole lot of leaves. So if you're planning to harvest baby kale for raw eating and salads, you're gonna need to plant a whole lot of kale. And if you do snip off a few of those baby leaves, it's going to take longer before your plant is ready to give you some bigger leaves to enjoy cooked. But you can harvest kale anytime that you want to once you're satisfied with the size of the kale leaf. And that can be anywhere from about a month and a half to 2 months for most variety of kale is when people start harvesting it. And you can keep on harvesting until the plant either starts to go to seed and flower in its second year of life, or you decide to kill the plant if it's going to get really hot or really cold for a sustained amount of time, or you're just tired of this gigantic kale stalk taking over your garden. It's really up to you. Just remember to always cut off from the bottom and the outside, and never cut that central growing bud until you are ready for the plant to stop producing. So I hope that you found this video enjoyable. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.